What is up, beautiful peach? Today we are actually going to be, or I am going to be sharing an inside look at one of the video value vaults that I have done for my beautiful peach mastermind clients. BPM is my high-level coaching program for women who want me standing by their side every single step of the way, holding their hand through their reverse diet to help them heal their metabolism, lose that weight, and find all of the food freedom. We do video value vaults, which means that there are a few topics that the clients will pick. Every single month there is a new one. They will pick the top topic, hard to say, that they want me to record a brand new fresh video. I have never shared these before, but I have had this question so many times, really wanting to understand how a reverse diet impacts our overall body composition. So how it impacts fat loss, muscle growth, and how our body can change during the process. So continue to watch and you will hear some inside sneak peeks of what it's like as an insider in the Beautiful Peach Mastermind. Let's dive into this. How a reverse diet impacts our body composition, our body recomposition, and in turn also impacts the scale. This is an absolutely amazing topic because this is something when I did my very first reverse diet, this is where I was like, I don't actually, this is before my nerdy master's, nerdy education. I was like, I don't know how my body's going to respond. I've heard there can be a body recomp, but I don't fully understand the science behind it. So today we're going to be talking about the science behind it. And I want to do a quick background of what reverse dieting is and the science behind reverse dieting itself. So the term metabolic adaptation, you might have heard me say it, you might not have heard me say it, but this is the scientific term for reverse dieting. When we think of the word metabolic sounds like metabolism, so metabolic metabolism. Adaptation equals adapting. So metabolism is adapting. When we are going through a reverse diet, we are basically taking what has happened during our days of calorie restrictions, our days of lower calorie eating, and we are in turn taking control of that and doing the opposite. So when we are restricting our food, what is essentially happening is this metabolic adaptation. The body is adjusting to a lower calorie intake by reducing our overall energy expenditure. And what it's actually doing internally is it is going to take, let's say for example, you started your reverse diet eating 1,200 calories, like that's what you were eating at the very, very, very beginning. What this essentially means is your body has said, okay, well, maybe you need 2,400 calories. That's where your metabolism needs to be. That's where it's thriving at its actual best. However, you're now eating 1,200 calories. So what your body's going to do is it's actually going to slow down a couple of the different functions in your body that are not considered vital in order to make sure that 1,200 calories you are consuming is going to the vital functions in your body, aka your heart beating, okay? Your lungs being able to function, your breathing, your body. Literally, if you were to sit here as a couch potato, I'm putting my little pause thing there just in case she starts barking. She has that look about her. But if you're literally just like sitting on your couch as a couch potato, that 1,200 calories is going to be going to your body, to the things that are keeping you functioning, which means that the non-vital functions, okay, aka your libido, your energy, your sleep-wake cycles, right? All of these other different pieces, your hormones, your hunger hormones, like all of those different pieces are not getting the attention that they need basically because it's not getting enough fuel. So that's kind of like the longer explanation behind metabolic adaptation and what's actually happening when we are in a lower calorie space. So I just had a weird hiccup, something there. So when it comes to reverse dieting, I just took the biggest breath. Wow, I don't know. I must not have been breathing when I was saying that. But reverse dieting is going to counteract all of that metabolic damage. I don't really like the term metabolic damage. That is what is happening. We're in a lower calorie space. I don't love it because it sounds so scary. And I see people who are like, I have metabolic damage. And I'm like, no, you're okay. And the good thing about you being here in BPM is we are healing that process. But reverse dieting is going to counteract that because we are slowly increasing our overall intake, so our macros, which then add up to our calories, which is actually encouraging our body to increase that metabolic rate over time. Now, the cool thing about this process, as well as you ladies are learning, is it is a slow and steady process. And when we are in a space where we are at that lower calorie space, say for example 1200, because that's just the example that I'm using, what's actually happening is we are not having enough fuel to actually build adequate muscle. So a fun fact about muscle growth: when we are in a calorie deficit, we cannot build, we're basically not maximizing the amount of muscle that we could be building. So what's happening when we are going through the reverse diet process, we're slowly but surely eating more, meaning we're slowly but surely giving our body more fuel, okay? I also just realized I left my face in the bottom corner. I was gonna make it bigger so you could see me better. Woo! Disappeared. I'm in my new office. The lighting's not great. It could be better, but we're gonna rock and roll with it. Anyway, I'm very excited. So this is the first video in my new office. But as we are going through new office and new home, I feel like that was very random. This is my second week in our new home and we're very excited. So welcome to my office. But when we are going through that reverse diet process, we are slowly but surely eating more. We are slowly but surely giving our body more food, more fuel, more protein, more carbs, more fat, more fuel for our body to actually build muscle, okay? And this actually is going to lead to very often a body recomposition, often known as a body recomp for the shortened terms. This basically means that there is fat loss and muscle gain happening at the same time. Now, there is a very big difference between a calorie deficit having fat loss and our body having the body recomp, where we are seeing fat happening due to the increase in our muscle growth, due to the increase in the food helping us with our overall energy. So if you have noticed that you, as you're eating more, you have more natural energy, you might want to go out and about more, you become a little bit more active. This is called your NEAT energy, N-E-A-T. And this is the energy that we have outside of our planned energy. So say for example, we were gonna go walk our dog. If you're not having as much energy, you're not thinking about this at all, but you might say, hey, I normally walk my dog all the way around the neighborhood, but man, I am so tired. I am just gonna walk her to, a little bit down the street and back, right? You're a little bit on the tired side. Or maybe you want to run around with your kids in the leaves because it is fall and the leaves are falling and you're like, hey, I want to go run around, but you're like, man, I'm really, really tired. I don't really have the energy to do that. So instead you sit to the side and you watch them do it, okay? That's your NEAT energy. We're literally not thinking about this, but this is more of just our energy is coming back. We have more energy. Oop, we're gonna decide to go run around in the leaves. Oop, we're gonna decide to go take the full walk around the neighborhood. So we're actually getting more movement in, okay? Now, I feel like that was a total sidetrack there. I have a hard time not getting sidetracked. I'm like, let me tell you everything. So when it comes to our reverse diet, we are actually having this help us build that lean muscle, okay? I really don't love the word toned, but a lot of people know what that means. So it's contributing to that more toned appearance, that more, having more muscle on your actual body, okay? Now, this can happen without necessarily seeing a huge change to the actual scale, because that body recomp means you are seeing some of that fat loss happen, and at the same time, because you are going in a reverse diet, you are eating more food, you are having muscle growth, so the overall weight on the scale might have that balanced out, seeing some fat change, seeing some muscle growth. The scale literally might just be balanced at the same time. You're just swapping fat for muscle, okay? That sounds so weird. When I said that, I was like, ew, that kind of sounds freaky, but that's basically like what is happening. So the scale might not change. And also, it might be down here where I have this point here. We'll go ahead and get into that. The scale might not change, but you also might see some fluctuations, sometimes up and down. But remember, this is so incredibly important. This is why it's so important, because we have that weight range where we are looking at, for example, if we are saying that our midpoint of the weight range equals 180, that means our weight range can be 175 to 185. I have my mic here. I was recording podcast earlier. Ooh, hope that doesn't make it sound weird. And I'm like trying to type on my keyboard without hitting my mic, and I'm like click clacking over here. So the really, really important piece about this, because weight fluctuations, number one, are so absolutely just so incredibly normal. So like fluctuations, is that spelled wrong? Yes. I spelled that. I was like, I don't think that's right. So because fluctuations literally can happen, they are natural to our body. They are literally so natural. If you wake up and you have not had a bowel movement, if you wake up and your weight is fluctuating up and down, and this is why it's really important too, if it is making or breaking your day, like be very aware that these fluctuations can happen. And it is literally 10% of what I actually care about. The scale is like the most minor point of the overall showing us how we are seeing progress. So I'm getting ahead of myself. I have so many thoughts coming into my head at once, and I'm like, I gotta share them all. We have these fluctuations, okay? It can be from bowel movements. It can be from, maybe you had wine last night. Maybe you are having your period, around your period. Our body changes so incredibly much based on our cycle. So usually before or during, around your period, you are noticing a little bit more water retention. It is actually pretty wild. I always notice that for myself, which then also impacts our confidence. We're like, wait, my body didn't look like this last week. What's going on? Your body's your body. It's just fluctuating, okay? It's just doing its thing. And that's a totally normal thing. It's just kind of saying, hey, we're about to go into our period. Gear up, right? It's time to give ourselves some self-love and really make sure we're taking care of ourselves. That's always my little reminder to myself. I'm like, all right, it's time for a little bit of, oh my gosh, what size is my heart on? That was embarrassing. I was like, I don't know where my heart is. But to give yourself that extra self-care and say, all right, it's that time. Like, you know, it's that time of the month where we're going to be a little bit more harsh on ourselves. But basically the point of this, I mean, there are so many more things you can look in the BPM Slack. There are so many things that impact our weight fluctuations, but in all honesty, there could literally be nothing at all going on, and your body is just fluctuating. Like, our body fluctuates all the time. So this is a very, very long point of saying that our body fluctuates. But the main point here is weight fluctuations are normal during a reverse diet, but they're also normal literally on a day-to-day. However, sometimes at the very start of a reverse diet, you might see I almost didn't put this in here because the amount of water retention from the initial carbs is like so freaking minimal. And more often than not, people actually see the scale drop after their first carb increase because their body is basically like, oh, more carbs, kind of kicking into gear there after being in a restriction for so long. I almost didn't put that in there because I don't want somebody to see that, and that's the only takeaway because it's literally such a minute part of the water retention, okay? Now, did I cover everything up here? I think I did. So I actually thought this was really important to add in here because yes, the scale is great. And also when we have been in a world of diet mentality for so incredibly long, it is hard. It is hard to get out of the diet mentality. It is hard. I have been there. I have been in your shoes. It is not impossible. And that's why we are here to work on it. So when you're having, you know, those diet mentality thoughts, like I want to hear about it. I want to dig into it. I want to really get deep. Okay. So the thing about the scale is it is like 10% of what I care about. Like it is a very, very, very minute thing because we really want to pay attention to overall, are we seeing energy levels increasing? Are we having better workouts, enhanced recovery, strength gains? How are those progress pictures looking? Which is why I implore you to take your progress pictures, please, and thank you, my gal pal. Progress pictures are absolutely everything. I have been doing this for a decade, so it's very, very, very easy for me to see the small things that are happening, the small changes that are happening, but in the bigger picture of things, over the weeks, you can look back and see those changes. And that's where you get to say, oh, okay, so I see that my body has been changing from week X to, or A to Z, right? Like you're seeing your body changing. Maybe the scale hasn't changed that much, but when we're so hyper focused on the scale, it's going to literally put these like blinders on us to where we can't see any of these, right? This is one of my favorite Favorite measurements, and I should say this and progress pictures, because they are so incredibly important. And as we're looking at those two things, like I have had clients who they have been so hyper focused on the scale, but they were actually down in inches, but they didn't realize they were down in inches because they were hyper focused on the scale, and it was causing them to spiral. And so I had this like tough love conversation in one of their check-ins, and it was the biggest aha moment for her. It was so cute. She came into Slack. This was like a while back, but she came into Slack and she was like so excited. But I really, really want you to start looking at, sure, yes, the scale, but also reminding yourself that all of these pieces are so incredibly important, okay? And especially when it comes to our overall body recomp and how the scale is changing, the scale might not change at all. The scale might fluctuate a little bit up or a little bit down, but these are the pieces that we're looking at, especially these two right here, because we can see some fat loss happening and we can see some muscle growth happening. Words are hard today. The last thing here is, yes, we are seeing that body recomp. And then when you go into that calorie deficit, obviously the goal of a reverse diet is to get our intake up and up and up and up, right? To maintain that weight range, but also we can still be having that body recomp, but also to make sure that we're getting our intake up. Okay, so you go from 1,200 calories to 2,400 calories for the example. I always recommend going as high up as you possibly can in your reverse diet. I know you are excited about the calorie deficit. However, the higher up we go in that reverse diet, the more wiggle room you have in that calorie deficit. Like say, for example, if you reverse diet to 2,200 calories versus 2,500 calories, that's literally 300 extra calories to play around with. So you might not have to go as low in your calorie deficit, okay? But that's the point too, is like after you've gone through your reverse diet, you might have had that body recomp. You can now go into your calorie deficit and maintain even more of that muscle, which sets you up for like an even better, just like revving of your whole entire body and having a killer calorie deficit. So lots of details for you, all the good stuff. I hope you enjoy this value volts video. I am like energized today, if you can tell that, but I hope you enjoyed nerding out with me, and I'm excited for our next value volt video. That was so high pitched. Bye, beautiful peach.